keep y'all too long. Can y'all hear me without the mic, or do I need it? I probably need it. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I want to say thank you again for coming. I really appreciate it. This is my first event, and just to see the support has been overwhelming. So thank you so much for coming and buying tickets. I hope you have enjoyed yourself so far. I just want to say thank you again. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. Let's pray real quick. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord God, for allowing us to gather here, Lord, today. We thank you, Lord God, for your mercy, Lord, and your grace. God, I pray that I may decrease so that you may increase, Lord God. I pray that you will use my mouth, God, to inspire these ladies. Thank you, Lord, for everyone who has traveled near and far. We thank you, Lord God, that you will bless them, Lord God, and give them something that they need today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So as far as I can remember, I've always been drawn to creativity. Any way that I could express myself, I was drawn to it. I love to model, dance, act, you name it, I've done it. Thank God I had a mother who encouraged my creativity. If I had the desire, she made sure that I could pursue it. Even when it meant giving up her weekends to take me to dance class when I was a little girl. All the way to when I was in high school, when I wanted to go to modeling and acting school. And it was 2.5 hours away. My mother made a way for me to go and took me every other weekend so that I could pursue my calling, or pursue my dreams, I should say. I'm so grateful for having a mother like that. She let me know that anything that I wanted to do, if I put my mind to it, that I could achieve it. And so when I got to high school, I was on cloud 9 because I got to pursue all of my creativity. I was a cheerleader my freshman year, and then I danced the rest of the years. So I was on a dance team with the band. As well as modeling. I did modeling, the Gapers. Y'all remember Gapers?
Yes.
Gapers team board. So I was a model there. And like I said, I was going to acting classes on the weekend. And so I really had it going on in high school. That was like the best time of my life. And so I decided after high school to go ahead and go to pharmacy school. And I took the safer route. Instead of pursuing my creativity, I decided to go ahead and do something safer. And so, but I always had it on the back of my mind that I would always pursue my interest, which was in acting. And so here I am, I'm graduating, I go to college. And when I go to college, I am excited because not only am I a college student, but because I had been going to New Orleans back and forth, I was able to sign with the agency. So I now had an agent in New Orleans, so I just felt like I was grown then. And so I got to college and they started sending me on auditions. And one of the very first auditions they sent me on was for a National TGI Fridays commercial. And I actually booked it, and I was so excited. I remember my roommate put signs on the door, and everybody's coming by and congratulating me. And then we were going home for summer break. And so actually, I think I had a couple of auditions, and then I had that one right before we were going home for summer break. So I got the call that I made it, and that I got the part. And so I went home, we celebrated. And I remember a lot of my friends from California, they would see the commercial, they would call me and say, "We see you on TV." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is so great." Just thought I was just really living my dream then. Little did I know that it would be about 7 to 8 years later before I would book anything else. So when I got back to college, I was excited, and I decided I wanted to go ahead and pursue dancing again. So I tried out for the Xavier dance team, and I didn't make it. And I was like, what is this? Because I danced all throughout my high school years, so it was really a hole in my heart because I really like dancing, but I shrugged it off and just said I would try again. And so eventually I decided to try out for the New Orleans Saints, their dance team. And I remember going and getting my number, and when I saw my number, I just knew that I was going to make it. I had the number 77. And so I knew the number 7 in the Bible was like the number of completion. So I remember calling my aunt Celeste and saying, "Celeste, I just wanted confirmation that that's what it meant." And so she told me, she said, "Yes, that means a number of completion." So I said, "It is finished, I'm in there." Got up there, got cut in the first round. And I was like, well, I don't understand, because I had known rejection in high school. And so I shrugged it off again, and I decided to try out the second year. But this time, I didn't tell anybody. The first time, I told a lot of people. And so they were kind of, they were trying to cheer me up, but I just didn't want, when you are discouraged, you don't really want to hear at that time any encouraging words. I just didn't understand. And so, like I said, I tried out the second year, and I made it all the way to the final round. and then I got cut. And so I said, okay. Picked myself back up again and decided to try out for they were having a TV show, and they were looking for a host, and so I decided to try out again for another opportunity. And you're not quite right for this part. And so I said, well, what is this, God? All through high school, I love creativity. And yes, I'm going for pharmacy, but I really want to pursue my dreams. And every door just continued to shut in my face. And so I went through college not having booked another role. However, I was able to chair my college fashion shows. We had big homecoming fashion shows. And so I was able to express myself that way, but I really wanted to dance and act, and it just wouldn't work out for me. So I remember packing my bags, graduating from college, and I moved from New Orleans to Houston. And again, I had my pharmacy degree in one hand, but in my heart, I knew that I wanted to pursue my creativity. And so I vowed that pharmacy would always be my plan B, and acting, modeling, anything of the sort would be my plan A. And so I spent all of my time when I wasn't working, going on auditions, going to class. And so finally, I went to audition for an agent there. And she said, well, you're good, but I want you to go get some more training. And so she recommended that I go to a certain acting school and to come back in a few months and re-audition. And so I did. I did that, I think it was like 3 months later, and I came back. And she signed me. And I was like, okay, finally. So I got an agent. It was one of the big agents in Texas, too. So they would send me on auditions, and again, I didn't really book anything. And so by this time, I'm just discouraged. I'm like, Lord, I don't really know what your plans are for me, but I know that you have big plans for me. And what I failed to mention before this is that although I was interested in doing acting and modeling and all of that, that was just a vehicle. God had shown me when I was little, he showed me a picture of me speaking to people. And not trying to be modest, but it was crowds of people. And I thought that he would use the acting and those platforms to get me in front of people that may never know what a Christian is. And so I wanted to be a light in a dark world. It was not just about being on stage and being seen. That was never me. Because sometimes I don't like to be seen. But I knew that he would use me to be a light. And so I thought that's the way he would do it. Because I always used to say, don't laugh, y'all, but I used to be like, if Beyonce would promote Jesus, you know how many saved people will have in this world? And so people, and some people won't listen to you if you don't have the name. And so I think God was saying basically, you don't have to be this big actor on TV for people to really, listen to you. Because what I put in your heart, people all want to listen. But anyway, at that time, I didn't want to hear all that. I just was like, God, why would you give me these visions? Why would you give me these dreams when I was little? Why would you put the desires in my heart and not allow them to come to pass? I don't understand. I was frustrated. And I would talk to my friends, I would talk to family members, and they would say, God has a plan. And I would roll my eyes every time. I'm thinking, if God has a plan, then why won't he open these doors? And so I remember one time in particular where I saw yet another opportunity in the audition. I saw an opportunity, and it was for the Style Network channel. Do y'all remember that channel? It had like the Look for Less, and I think Elizabeth Hasselbeck was one of the hosts, and one of the other girls, the girl from The Real, Jenny Mine, she was one of the hosts. And I loved that station, so I said, okay, I can do this. And so what it was like a reality type show that they were going to have. And what they were doing, they were looking for sets of friends. So I think they were going to have like 5 sets of friends, and they were going to give you money to go to the mall and shop while following you around with a camera. They just kind of wanted to catch you on camera being silly with your friends. And so I looked at all the information, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. The only problem was I didn't know who I was going to take. Because most of my friends that were in the city were like, they wouldn't have been interested in anything of the sort. And all my other friends who would have wanted to go, they lived out of town. So I said, who am I going to take? And so I thought of one of the girls who worked with me. And so I said, I think she would go. So I went to work the next morning, and I asked one of my coworkers, her name was Sarah, and I said, Sarah, would you be interested in going to an audition to be on a reality type show for Style Network? And she was like, heck yeah! And so I was like, okay, I gave her all the information and told her where to show up. I gave her all the paperwork that she needed, and she filled out the paperwork, and we wound up going the next day. Well, when we got to the audition, we registered and everything. We went in with the producers, and they told us to introduce ourselves. So we told them a little bit about ourselves. And then they said to tell them what we do for fun and tell them about a fun time that we've had. And so we did. And they was like, this is boring. Like, y'all don't have any wild and crazy stories. And so at that point, Sarah got kind of loose, and she started just talking about all her mishaps and being unconscious and her intoxicating moments and all that. And so here I am, like this goody two-shoes. I love Jesus. I'm like, well, I'm high on life. I got a natural high. Like, I was a fun girl, but I didn't have to get drunk and pass, and that kind of thing to enjoy life. So I said, I'm fun. I like to dance. I said, but I don't have any crazy stories. And they kind of just laughed at me when I said I have a natural high. And we had fun. We, went through the interview, and the interview ended. So I didn't know how we did. You never know with these kind of things. And so they told us we would have callbacks the next day. And so here we are the next day, writing back, texting each other like, hey, have you heard back? Have you heard back? And I'm like, no, I was gonna text you. And so a couple of hours went by, and she texted me again. I said, I haven't heard anything. And so I text her again and asked her, has she heard anything? And it took a few minutes, and finally she texted back. And I read the text, and she said, I just heard back, and I was getting ready to do my happy dance until I finished reading. And she said, they want me to come back, but bring somebody else. And my heart sank. And I said, and I called her. And I said, what do you mean they want you to bring somebody else? And she said, I'm sorry. She said, I won't go. I said, girl, you better go. I said, you go and you take somebody and you rock that audition. And I meant it, because that's just the kind of heart I have. And I hung up the phone, and I think I just fell to the floor. And I said, God, why would you give me all of these dreams and these visions? Why would you tell me to have faith? And every time I try to use my faith, you shut every single door in my face. Everybody knows I have faith. All of my friends, my mama had a little party for me when I graduated, and they got up and spoke, and all of them said, she always said, I'm gonna be on TV one day, and I have faith. Everybody knew that. And here I am, I'm out of college, and I'm in my pharmacy career, and it's still not happening for me. And so I didn't understand. And every time I would talk to somebody, they would say, God has a plan for your life. And so I remember crying myself to sleep the entire night. I cried so hard that I couldn't even go to work the next morning because my eyes were swollen. And I got the courage to call my mom the next day because I didn't want to talk to anybody then. And I don't know if you remember this story, Mom, but I called her, and my mama said what she always says, what's for you is for you. God has a plan. And I heard her, but I didn't hear her. And I hung up the phone, and I said, can't you just go along with my plans for once, God? Why would you give me all these dreams? Once again, I verbalized what I have been feeling. Why would you give me all these dreams and not open the door? And it's not like I'm trying to be up there just so I can be cute and be seen, but I want to promote you. Like, you gave me these visions and these dreams. And so I just was so frustrated. I said, every time I try to fulfill my dreams, you never show up. Every single time you let me down. I don't know about you out there. I don't know if you've ever experienced rejection over and over again. Wondering if you're ever going to be good enough. Wondering if you got what it takes. Wondering if you have anything of value to give to anyone. Or maybe you have experienced rejection and disappointment, where you put your best foot forward day after day, and you're told you're not young enough, you're not talented enough, you're not beautiful enough, you're not young enough. What do you do when you have all these dreams and they don't come true? What do you do when you believe God to every single time you'll get your hopes back up and then you're going to be disappointed again? What do you do? Do you hang your gifts on the shelf and say, well, maybe never? Do you start doubting who you are? Do you start believing the lies of the rejection that the enemy put in your head, saying you just don't have what it takes? Sit down somewhere. Just try to live a normal life and try to be happy. What do you do? What do you do? Well, you're in good company, because we're going to talk about Timothy in the Bible. And I want to go, I don't know if you have Bibles, I know some of you have your phones, but let me give you a little background about Timothy. Timothy was born to a Greek father and a Jewish mother. The Bible doesn't make any mention of if Timothy's father was a Christian or not. But it does say that his mother and his grandmother were devout Christians, and they taught him the Bible. And so by the time they have planted those seeds in Timothy's heart, here comes Paul. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Paul's story, but Paul was a persecutor of Christians for a while. And God got a hold of him on the road to Damascus and changed his heart. And so here he is on fire for God, and he comes through to Lystra where Timothy lives. And so Timothy's mother and grandmother had been planting those seeds in his heart. So by the time Paul comes along and he's full of fire, Timothy says, you know what, I want this. So he becomes a Christian because of Paul. And as a result, this is the first missionary trip that Paul has. And so during the second missionary trip, Timothy joins him. And he's teaching the Bible. And so their whole focus was to build the church in Ephesus. And they wanted to make sure that the believers were growing in their faith. But as a result of Paul's boldness, he's in prison. Like, he goes to prison. And so Timothy is now out teaching and trying to go to church on his own. And Paul missing Timothy and then sensing that his friend needs encouragement, he begins to write a series of letters to Timothy. And you might say, but why was Timothy so discouraged? Well, first of all, Timothy was a Christian. He was a Bible teacher, like a real Bible teacher in the middle of a pagan city. And you know how the times that we're living in now, if you say anything of the Bible, anything is wrong, people are looking at you like you are like from the ancient age, like the Flintstone age. So imagine him. He was the only Bible teacher who was teaching the Bible. Everybody else was teaching false doctrine. And so they didn't want to hear what he had to say. So he was rejected over and over again. And so he was in the midst of a lot of false teachers as well. So he's teaching the Bible. Like I said, the days that we're living in now, people want to stone you if you say something is wrong because they want to live the way they want to live. So people don't want to hear the truth a lot. And so here Timothy is preaching the truth, and people are rejecting him for it. And not only those two things with the false teachers and him being a Bible teacher, he was young. And so they would say things, I can imagine him saying things like, who are you? You don't know anything, you're too young. And so here is Paul encouraging his friend because he was really discouraged. And so we're going to pick up in 2 Timothy 1 and 6. One of the first scriptures that I wrote out before we get to that one is 2 Timothy 1, 6 to 7. Where it says, this is why I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. For God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and self-discipline. And in the scripture before that, he tells him to stir up your gift. He says that don't neglect your gift that God gave you from the laying on of my hands. So basically he is saying you got to stir your own fire up. You can't allow these people to take what God has given you and you start rejecting yourself. And so over and over again, he's reminding him to stir up that flame. And so you might be thinking like, Timothy, how do you do that? It's easier said than done to say, don't feel discouraged and don't be rejected. And so Paul gives him 3 key nuggets in the scripture. He says, through the power that God has given you, the power to keep doing what is right and showing up even when people don't understand or when people reject you. The love in your heart to love through every challenge. No matter what anybody is saying, you love because I put the love in your heart. And the self-discipline to keep his own life on course so that you don't get tainted by all of the foolishness that's going on. And as you sit and listen to Timothy's story, this you guys can bring the box. As you sit and listen to Timothy's story, I want you to think back to your own encounters with rejection. The times where you've been disappointed over and over again. Where you started believing the lies that the world has told you that you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not talented enough. You know, they'll tell you everything but what God tells you. So what do you do? What do you do when you are faced with the rejection? It's something that you want. So it might not even be just rejection. It can be something that you want really bad, and you've been praying to God about it. And you see other people getting blessed with what you want. And you have to say, well, God, you know, why not me? So what do? You have to have your own fire rekindled. For Paul to say to stir up the flame, that means that there was a flame that was there already. And when God, before it's a scripture that I really like. It says, before I formed you in your mother's womb, I knew of you and I chose you as my chosen instrument. And so when you hear those scriptures, after you've been disappointed and discouraged for so long, you will hear those scriptures and you'll be tempted to just brush past them and say, you know what? God is not talking to me. He's talking to everybody else. But you have to realize you are chosen. You are appointed. And you are anointed. And God has a great plan for you and he will use you. But we have to understand that we have to stir up our own flame. We have to stir up the gifts that God has given us. Because God specifically placed different gifts, desires, passions, and talents inside of us. But a lot of us are not using them. We're not using them because we've been disappointed, we've been rejected. We don't think that we have anything of value to give anyone, so we just sit on our gifts. And like that candle sitting in front of you, everything is just stored. You're not using it. Right now, that candle is not doing what it was created to do. A candle has two basic functions. One is to give light. When you light a candle, if you're in darkness, you appreciate that light. You can see the light. And the second function is to release its aroma, the sweet aroma into the air for everybody to enjoy. But like that candle, it is dependent on somebody else coming along and lighting it for you, for it can work. And that's how a lot of you are. You're sitting, you're waiting on somebody to come and validate you and choose you. When God has said, I chose you before I put you in your mother's womb. And so we have gifts that we're just sitting on like the wax. Our heart has hardened like the wax, and we're just harboring our gifts along with a lot of other emotions. And so you have to learn how to stir up your own flame. Because you might not have a Paul, unfortunately. Some of us might not have friends that are just come along and encourage us when we need it. But you have to learn how to light your own fire. And how do you do that? You take your match. And you learn how to keep your own match on fire. You don't give your match to anybody else. So I want to ask you right now, who has your match? Or where is your match? In my case, when I was giving my match to all of the producers and those who rejected me, they had my match. I was discouraged. I sat on my gifts for a while after that. I didn't continue to just keep going on and on and on. Eventually I said, you know what, God, I'm just through. So you convince yourself, you just give up and say, you know what, I'm not going to try anymore because I tried and I'm just disappointed. I can't do this anymore. And so they had my match. In Timothy's situation, those naysayers, those false teachers, they had his match. To the woman out there who tried to go through pharmacy school or get in nursing school and you're rejected over and over again, who has your match? To the woman who's gone through a divorce or maybe some infidelity issues, and now you size yourself up, but you compare yourself to all the women that's passing by. You want to fix yourself, plastic surgery. They're getting buttocks implants now, makeup. You want to fix yourself because you just feel rejected. Who has your match? To the woman who's tried to lunch out and start her own business or fulfill her own dreams, and you failed in front of everybody and people laughed at you because you were the only one who was, there go that dreamer right there, and you failed and they laughed and now your match is just dim. So a lot of you are like that candle before it was lit, we came along and lit it. Your dreams are just sitting there. You're waiting on somebody else to come and light you, but like I said, God is the only one who can keep you lit. And what you do is you pick up this word, and this is your match. You take this word, and when the world tells you you're not good enough, you tell the world, you know what? I know what God told me in 2 Corinthians 10:4. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the true knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought, making it obedient to Christ. You do that with this word. You take this word, and this is your match. You strike it. And when the word tells you something, you spit out the word. That is your match. And not only is that your match, that's your covering as well. So if I come and I try to blow out your candle right now, you cover it with the word. Because the world cannot dim your light if you have it covered. But if I come out there right now and you're not prepared, I can blow that light out and here you are sitting here dormant. So you have to keep this word. This word has gotten me through so many different seasons of my life. I could not have made it without this word. And you don't appreciate it until you know the value. Some people don't know the value of the word. The word has gotten me through. And so what do you do the next time that you're discouraged? You take out your matches and you keep the power in your hand. You don't allow anybody else to take your self-esteem and your confidence. And in that scripture, it says, he has not given you a spirit of timidity. Timidity means low self-esteem, no confidence. So Timothy was losing his confidence because Paul wouldn't have wrote that if he wasn't. He said, keep your self-esteem in God's hand. Stir up your own fire. And so I want you guys to stand up with your matches. You, who has your match? Say, I do.
I do.
Who has your match?
I do.
So the next time the world comes along and reject you, you have two choices. You can allow them to take your match along with your joy, your life, your confidence, and just give up on life altogether, or give up on God altogether. Or you can snatch that match, your word, light yourself back on fire when you feel yourself getting discouraged, and keep going. Because God does have a plan for your life. Don't roll your eyes like I did. And I'm now walking in my purpose, and I knew he had a plan for me all along. You just kind of forget for a moment. But he hasn't forgotten you. And one thing I want to say before I close is, one time when I had just, because there's so many times I've been told no, I couldn't even tell you guys all of it. It was a lot. Because I was so ambitious. I knew God had a plan, so I kept going. One day I decided to go try to get a new agent because the one I had wasn't sending me out enough. So I went to a new agent and I auditioned and left. The next week I went to Bible study and I got the email right before I was getting ready to go on Bible study that said, thank you for auditioning. Unfortunately, we are not going to be able to, sign you at this time. And I got to church and I was so discouraged and I put on my happy face. Nobody knew it. Got to church and we had altar prayer like we always do. Went up to the altar. And one of the ladies who was praying stopped in front of me and said, God sees you. And she said, you have been rejected. Now, mind you, I had just got the email before I got in there. She said, you have been rejected over and over again. And you're wondering, what's wrong with me? You look in the mirror sometimes, you say, what's wrong with me, God? And she said, God wants me to tell you, nothing's wrong with you. Her exact words, you are a beauty queen. And God said he shut every last door. And when he gets ready to open that door for you, he's going to open it, and you're going to know it's him, and ain't nobody going to be able to shut it. And so the rejection wasn't about me. It was about God redirecting my steps. And so I stopped for a minute, and I said, I don't care what I want anymore. It's your will be done, God. And I stopped auditioning. And I finally, when I moved to Atlanta, I had my son, and we moved to Atlanta when he was 3 months old. And I said, I'm not going to find an agent, because usually the first thing I do when I know I'm moving is find an agent. Well, I got to get my acting agent, got to get myself set up. I didn't do any of that. I said, God, I don't know what I want anymore. Whatever you want for me to do, I'll do. I just want to go and inspire women. I want to praise your name. I want people to know you because of me. I want to be a light in this dark world. And he redirected me to life coaching. And I was like, life coach? I really didn't want to do life coaching. But I realized I had been doing it all of my life, inspiring people, just wanting to be a light, just wanting to be that one person you can count on. The one person who wasn't getting drunk and doing what everybody else was doing. Because I've always been the Jesus girl. And so, I just want to let you know that the rejection, the disappointment, anything you may be going through, God has a plan. He sees you. When you see other people getting blessed and get things that you want, when you feel like your prayers are not being answered, he sees you, he hears you, and it's just not time yet. But when he opens that door, I promise you, I don't know what it feels like. Like things are falling in my lap. Things I don't even apply for. Like I do a radio show every morning now at 6:40 in the morning, Central Time. I didn't even ask for that. I literally put out my website, and like the next week, I had that opportunity to be on the radio. And from then, I've been on other radio shows. I've only launched in September my business, and God has been opening doors. I don't know. This is foreign to me because I'm so used to beating down doors. And so what I want you to remember is to hold your match in your hand, and don't ever give it away. And know that God has a plan. And what I want to leave you with is the title of my message is, God provides the fuel for man, but the match is in our hand. God provides the fuel. It's already there. You have to get this word and light it. The match is in your hand. Thank you. Amen. real quick. First, what I want to do though first. One of the main reasons I've been so successful since I started this business is this woman right here. Mimi. She has been, God, I didn't even know. Like, I put my business out and she was so excited for me. She treats us like her own business. I don't know if y'all on Facebook, she tags you and everything. She has, I mean, literally, the day I put my website out, she has been like my number one, like my mom, of course. She has been like, besides my mom, my number one supporter. She is the reason why this event is so beautiful. She's decorated, her and Brandy, and my lovely cousin, Nisha, my best friend, my everything. So Dad, I just want to shout you out, Nene. I have a little something for you. But I can never repay you for all you've done. Because I don't even know if I would be this far if it wasn't for you. So I just wanted to do that real quick for her. I love you. We're going to toast. Can you talk about that?
We're going to pass out the glasses. Just hold on. Thank you.